So this is a strut bar from the 2nd gen CTS V6. It's not from the V because the ones from the V, they sit a little higher because of the supercharger. So to make this thing fit, I got the regular one. And I got this part off of GM online parts store or whatever. It wasn't expensive. It was probably like, what, $80, $90, including shipping. So it's cool. So from the looks of it, yeah, it's a bolts on. It's only 2 holes or bolts on each side. Pretty simple. But I'm just looking for a clearance issue. Before I even install it, I'm going to paint this black because, you know, it's just raw metal. It doesn't really look pretty. Unless you want to put stickers to cover some of the scratches or whatever. But for me, I just want it black because everything else on the car is pretty much almost black. But as for clearance issues, let's start with the middle part. So there's still, you know, quite some room for the intake manifold, but if you want to, you know, replace your ignition coils, spark plugs, you know, the whole thing where the manifold does have to come off, yeah, you're gonna have to take the strut bar off. But I'm sure that goes for just about any car with a strut bar. It's not hard to take off, but it's inconvenient if that matters to you. As for this side, I know the strut bar is not, you know, seated down. It's sitting higher because it's sitting right on top of the bolts. But as for the mass and cylinder, brake fluid reservoir, whatever the hell you call that thing, it's pretty close, but no issues there. Now for the left side or passenger side, it gets a little interesting for the battery. Okay, so there's this little wire, so I'm gonna have to like push that down, move it somewhere, that way, you know, the strut bar is not sitting on it. But it looks like getting to the negative terminal, it's gonna be a pain. Well, it's probably gonna need maybe a wrench if I can squeeze it in there. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see how it goes in the final result. So these bolts, they're 18 millimeter, pretty long. Let's go ahead and drop that. Go ahead and pull this one out, just like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the strut bar, which is now painted black, and just go ahead and bolt it down. Pretty simple. It's only 2 bolts. Let's see how it looks. Okay, so the strut bar is sitting the way it should. It's not bolted and torqued down all the way just yet. I'm just letting it see. I'm just seeing how it looks right now. So the only issue I have with it is, okay, so there's a cable right here. Just move it out of the way. But access to the negative terminal is pretty tight, as you can see. I say using a socket or a ratchet wrench. I mean, you'll still be able to pull it out, but it looks like it'll be a pain in the ass, really, just to barely pull it out. And I don't think you want to keep removing the strut bar just to disconnect the battery. So that's kind of an issue. But as for the intake manifold, there is space. But, you know, if you want to take it off, you're going to have to take the strut bar off. If you have power tools, it makes things a lot easier. You could get it off like in 2 minutes. But with hand tools, probably like 5 minutes. The bolts were torqued down pretty tight, so I recommend using a breaker bar to break loose the bolts. But as for the right side here, or driver's side, still have access to your brake fluid. It's not hitting the AC line, nothing crazy like that. So there is still room. So once I bolt this down, I'll go ahead and close the hood. All right, so it's torqued down, looking good. So I already did close the hood, and I don't have the insulation or whatever you call that part, but that's off. But I think it's making contact with the strut bar because that was not there when I closed it the first time. So let's go ahead and try again. Keep in mind I have 2 hood struts, so it's a little harder to drop it down. Okay, look. Looks good, right? Then it latches. Now let me go ahead and just try to close it. I'm not trying to close it, I'm just barely pushing, but as you can see, it seems as if the strut bar is in the way. This is a 2005 STS, so if you have an 06, 07, chances are your hood is exactly the same as mine. Now, somebody did install a 2nd gen CTS strut bar on a 2008 STS, and I'm thinking on the 08 to the 11 STS, the hood is probably designed differently than this, probably for a clearance just for the strut bar. Because in my case, looks like it's making contact. But if I close it, which it does close, there's no issues. It's not popping up. Nothing funky going on. Interesting. I mean, it does close. It's not like, oh my god, I can't close it. I gotta like force it down. But you know, I think it barely touches the hood. But if it closes and it works, I'm happy with that. I don't care. I'll slap stickers on that thing to cover up the scratch paint. But yes, sir.